Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your in-depth monthly horoscope for April for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to explore some of the key strands of this month, but please stay with me. I will then go deeper and give you all the key dates and influences particularly relevant to your sign. Now this month sees a connection between the Sun and Jupiter, the planet of plenty, and that becomes exact on the 11th. Out of retrograde, this is the only time this will happen this year. And for you, it happens in the part of your situation to do with the exchange of your ideas. So some kind of connection could be really important this month. But of course, Saturn, your traditional ruler, is now in a new home, and it does link very constructively with Mars at the start of the month, but also with the Sun in the last week. There's so much to share with you, including Mercury going into a retrograde in the tender fourth house, so we need to really understand the impact of that. But if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for joining me once more. If you're new here, please share any thoughts or observations you have. I interact with each comment. This is very much a community, but please also subscribe to my channel. Now, if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you a life roadmap report which can really help you to understand some of the patterns that have played out throughout your life and get a much more intimate understanding, the more challenging ones, but also the ones that present opportunities. Understanding those patterns is a lot to do with how we can take more control of our lives. And in my special package, you can also get your 12-month personal forecast, and there's 30% off. If you don't know your time, I have designed a new set of charts which can work with that. We don't use the ascendant and we use whole sign astrology, but based on the Sun. And this will help you to reflect in my videos in a very, very positive way. Again, there's 30% off if you have the analysis and the forecast. Please see below for more on that too. So Aquarius, your April begins with the Sun, Mercury and Jupiter all in the very interactive 3rd house. And that can be a very exciting part of your month for sure. But also, I feel that there is going to be a lot of focus on where you live or your family situation or just your environment. And part of the reason for this is that Uranus, your modern ruler, has been in this part of your situation since March 2019. It did have 5 months in 2018 from mid-May to mid-November. But I feel that over the last couple of years, as Saturn, your traditional ruler, was in that tussle with your modern ruler, there probably has been a degree of tension around balancing what you need as an individual around where you live. I feel this month, despite the interactive energy that does come through the sign of Aries, there is going to be a lot of focus on your more emotional, more family, or more home-orientated needs. And part of the reason for this is right at the start of the month, Venus connects with Uranus in this area. Now Venus, of course, is the planet of relating, but it can also be to do with money. There could be some kind of surprise. It could be a very pleasant one linked to your property or home situation, or perhaps you're going to find a way to create the space or to host some kind of gathering in the comfort of your home, but some kind of energy around your emotions or your immediate environment is very strong at the start of this month. But Mercury moves out of that everyday communicational sector where it's been into Taurus 2, joining up with Venus and Uranus on the 3rd, but it immediately is challenged by Pluto in your sign. If there is somebody that you need to interact with around you, whether it's a neighbour or perhaps it's a community a situation, or perhaps it is to do with your family, you may have to stand up and defend your position. The fourth house is intriguing. It's very much about needing to find peace, sanctuary and quiet, but also it can be an area where we can be a little bit defensive. So having Mercury move into this area and be challenged by Pluto in your sign could make you perhaps a little bit more on the front foot around making sure people know what you will or will not accept. And that's no bad thing. If your home situation is not acceptable to you, there could be some rethinking that starts to unfold during this month. But the first week does also see your traditional ruler now finding its place in the part of your situation to do with life's foundations in a very stable link with Mars. So if you did need to do some constructive things around your property or your home, do-it-yourself repairs, redecorating, doing something to your garden, or perhaps even working from home, I think whatever you decide to do, you will do it in a very constructive way. And the start and the end of this month are going to be influential in this regard. Now, the 6th sees the full moon in your sister air sign of Libra. For all of us collectively, this full moon each year asks us to think about our relationships. And for you, it's in house 9. That can give us a desire for freedom and escapism, but also for a little bit of adventure. But very close to the sun is Jupiter, and that actually makes this full moon a potentially very positive one. Although your modern ruler Uranus does forge a 150-degree angle with the moon position, which can be a bit jarring, I think generally there needs to be some big discussions around where you live and whether you feel really satisfied that this is the right environment for you. Then again, if you're someone who likes to have discussions, whether it's about current affairs, music, culture, I feel your emotional response to situations is going to inform your opinion a lot more. Now, from the 6th through to the 11th, the positions of the Sun and Jupiter start to close up, which is really, really exciting. So there is the potential for some kind of exchange, an email, a text message, a connection with someone that has an element of good fortune linked to it. Just be aware, however, that from the 7th, Mercury starts to slow down. Mercury in the 4th house can see us circulate our thoughts around our mind, but find it more difficult to actually articulate them. Obviously, Mercury is about communication, but I feel that the full moon, because for you it occurs in house 9 and has that Libran energy, I feel you can find your voice about more sensitive strands. And once the connection between the Sun and Jupiter becomes exact on the 11th, that could be the high point of something bubbly that's been building up. Now, from the 11th, Venus forges a tremendous angle with Pluto in your sign. And this is because on the 11th, Venus moves into the sign of Gemini. If you are born right at the start of Aquarius, this can be very exciting. Just be aware, however, that from the 11th through to the 17th, Venus is challenged more by Saturn. So when it comes to financial situations, that's a kind of counter risk influence. It's saying don't be too free and easy with your resources, particularly around a love relationship or where you're closely connected to someone. So if there's someone who is inclined to be a little bit too reliant on you financially, I think Saturn's just giving you some encouragement to set your boundaries in a robust way. But in terms of your social life or romantic prospects, the link between Venus and Pluto is very meaningful. It helps us to understand the depth of our connections. Whether you're in a relationship or not, it helps us to understand what we need, but also what we're prepared to give. But Venus moving into the 5th house is one of the most romantic transits of the whole year. And I feel that the 11th generally can be a very fated day for Aquarians this year. But 16th to the 24th, Mercury is edging towards Uranus. And this conjunction could point towards some restlessness at home. If you have felt over the last couple of years either that you've wanted to move, or you felt that you've had too much space because the kids have fled the nest and you want to downsize, or you're in rented accommodation which doesn't meet your needs as much as you'd like, or there's too much noise around you, or it's too quiet or isolated, whatever your domiciliary needs are, I think Mercury and Uranus are asking you to rethink. And this is going to get stronger once Mercury goes into its retrograde from the 21st. But the solar eclipse, which occurs on the 20th, is the second new moon in the sign of Aries within a month. Obviously this is rare, but this occurs in the final minutes of the sign of Aries, whereas the first one was in the first few minutes. But this one's a solar eclipse. Your passion for whatever really enthuses you, or your passion for lots of physical exercise, or to express your ideas, to get more firmly embedded in your community and express yourself more, is really going to be maximized on the back of this solar eclipse. But if your sun is more towards the beginning of Aquarius, this could be a bit more challenging, because I think it's really asking you to think again about where you're living. If it's more towards the end of Aquarius, it is brilliant for your ideas over the next half year. The sun moves later on the 20th into Taurus, joining up with Uranus and also Mercury. But the sun moving here is really asking you again to think about the concept of how things feel, because all air signs can tend to intellectualize how they relate to situations, and us Aquarians are no different. So there may be some dialogue that you could have with someone who's very caring, nurturing or supportive, just that you know well, or it could be that you may even decide to engage in having some formal counselling, if that would be something that appeals to you, because the Mercury retrograde is a great time to have a retrospective look at perhaps your early formative years, or any past events that have occurred that may be a little bit unsettling or challenging or tense around family affairs. So Mercury retrograde can lead to delays and things getting glitchy, as we all know, but it can be a huge opportunity. And because the sun forges a very stable link to your traditional ruler Saturn in the last week of this month, this can be a time when you can get things very, very much more steady and clear in your mind about what you want. But it could include some kind of about turn in terms of the exact location that you are residing in. Now, ironically, your modern ruler is also blessed as this month comes to a close, but in a very energetic way with the passionate Mars. So if you did decide that you wanted to change something around your home, whether it's a physical thing, like doing some maintenance, do it yourself, gardening, extending, replacing, renewing, then Mars gives you a lot of thrust to get on with it, but you may get stuck in quite a quick and not particularly well planned way, but actually the way you deliver the changes you make, you can actually be very thorough. So it's a fascinating month, to be honest, Aquarius, with a lot of energy, a lot of need to move around earlier in the month, interact with people, some very bright and bubbly communications which could be lucky. But later in the month, I think the theme very much is about how you feel about things, your connection to your family, your environment, the need to be in nature a lot more, or to be in the location where you feel that you can really thrive. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Please comment or subscribe.